Welcome to another deep dive, this time into a world where light and darkness, well, they're not just metaphors, they're forces that people can actually, wield.
Yeah.
The source material for this deep dive is excerpts from First Magic, which is the first book in this Born of Light series.
Cool.
And it introduces us to, this whole hidden world
Yeah.
that's, full of secrets and danger, and asks some really interesting questions about the choices that we make when we are confronted with, well, both good and evil.
I think what I find really interesting about this world is how it kind of mirrors our own in a way.
Totally.
The characters are dealing with fear and responsibility and the pressure to conform,
Right.
all while navigating these extraordinary abilities
Exactly.
that they don't really understand. And it just makes you think about what kind of hidden potential we might be suppressing in our own lives.
For sure. Let's meet our main character, Lona. She's not your average teenager. Imagine your hair changing color, like with your mood swings or needing to run for miles under a full moon, just to feel normal.
Oh, wow.
She can even control lights with her mind.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
She's terrified of these abilities.
Well, that makes sense, though, when you think about the tragedy in her path.
Exactly.
Her mother was killed by a Viking,
Right.
this creature that literally feeds on light.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that kind of loss, that would make anybody hesitant to embrace their own light.
Oh, absolutely.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And then we meet May, who's a fury who can manipulate fire.
Okay.
And she's the complete opposite of Lona.
Interesting.
She's all about embracing her abilities, even if it makes her stand out.
Right.
It's almost as if the author is presenting these two different ways of dealing with these extraordinary circumstances, like suppressing versus embracing.
Yeah, and yet, despite their different approaches, I think they're both kind of searching for the same thing, like connection and purpose.
Yeah.
They're both trying to figure out where they belong.
Totally.
In this world that doesn't really quite understand them.
Right.
So in a way, they represent two sides of the same coin,
Yeah.
The struggle to just embrace our true selves, even when it feels scary or different.
That's such a good point. But just when you think you're starting to understand these characters, things take a dark turn.
Oh.
Lona starts experiencing this series of really unsettling events, like a dead rabbit with her name shaved on it.
Oh my gosh.
Appears on her porch.
That's creepy.
And there's this menacing shadow that's lurking in her room.
Okay.
So is it just a prank or something more sinister going on?
It makes you wonder.
Right.
The author, I think, cleverly plays with our expectations and creates this sense of suspense and unease.
So totally.
Is this just like teenage drama?
Yeah.
Or is Lona in real danger?
Yeah.
It makes you question appearances and wonder who to trust.
Right.
Even in a seemingly ordinary setting.
Yeah, speaking of trust,
Yeah?
we are introduced to Christian,
Okay.
a seemingly normal boy who comes to Lona's rescue. He's protective, but he's also very secretive.
Interesting.
He's skilled in fighting, but avoids emotional attachment.
Okay.
Clearly, he's hiding something. But is he a friend or is he a foe?
Well, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
It turns out that Christian is a guardian,
Oh.
assigned to protect Lona, but he's forbidden to reveal his true nature.
Oh, wow.
And this raises all sorts of questions about trust and responsibility.
Totally.
Would you want someone watching over you,
Right.
even if it meant they couldn't be completely honest with you?
That's a great question.
Where do we draw the line between protection and freedom?
It really makes you think about
It does.
the sacrifices that we make for the people we care about and the burdens that we have to carry alone.
Yeah.
But even with Christian by her side, Lona still has a lot to learn.
Right.
They begin training, not just physically, but in controlling their unique abilities as well.
And Lona's training is about so much more than just mastering her powers.
Right.
It's a metaphor for personal growth.
Totally.
She uses yoga to focus her light.
Oh, interesting.
But she's still battling fear and anxiety. So it shows us that even with these extraordinary abilities, our inner demons can be the hardest to conquer.
Totally.
Real growth takes time,
Yeah.
effort, and a willingness to push beyond your comfort zone.
Absolutely. It reminds us that we all have these inner battles that we're fighting and that true strength comes from facing those fears head on.
For sure.
But Lona's journey isn't just about personal growth. It's also about the power of connection.
Yeah.
There's this pivotal moment where she transfers some of her light to Christian
Oh, wow.
when he's injured.
Interesting.
It's this selfless act that I think reveals the true potential of her power.
It's more than just like a healing act, too.
Right.
It shows us that light isn't just a weapon. It's also a source of comfort and restoration. It makes you wonder about the untapped healing power within each of us.
Totally.
And how we can use our strengths to support others.
And then just when things seem to be looking up, the past comes back to haunt Lona in a pretty devastating way.
Oh, no.
Mr. Steele, her seemingly harmless teacher, is revealed to be the Viking who killed her mother.
Wow.
This betrayal shatters her sense of security and forces her to confront the true depths of evil that can lurk beneath a seemingly ordinary facade.
It makes you wonder who the Mr. Steeles are.
Totally.
In your own life.
Right.
The people we trust blindly without questioning their motives or actions.
This twist raises some really unsettling questions.
It does.
About the nature of deception and the importance of discernment.
Right.
We need to trust our instincts, question those who seem too good to be true.
For sure.
And recognize like the subtle signs of manipulation.
Sometimes even when we're aware of the danger, we can't escape it.
Yeah.
And that leads us to another pivotal moment in the story.
Okay.
That confrontation with the Viking in Yona's bedroom.
Right.
She realizes that she needs light to fight the darkness.
Okay.
It's not just about illumination.
Yeah.
It's about power and protection. It's a turning point for her in her understanding of her own abilities. And it sets the stage for the epic battles to come.
I mean, this first part of First Magic has given us so much to think about.
It has.
It's a reminder that even in this like fantastical world, the challenges that these characters face really resonate with our own experiences.
For sure.
We all grapple with fear, responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
the desire to find our place in the world.
Yeah.
But what I find the most compelling is this idea that we all have the potential for this extraordinary strength and courage.
Totally.
We just need to learn how to tap into it.
And as we delve deeper into the story, I'm really curious to see how these themes of personal growth, connection, the battle between light and darkness, how they'll continue to unfold. What choices will Lona make? What sacrifices will she have to endure?
Exact.
And ultimately, what will it mean for her to like embrace her destiny as an aura?
We'll explore those questions in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
But before we move on, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
What resonated with you in this first part of the story?
Right.
What parallels do you see between Lona's world and your own?
I think one thing that really stands out to me is Lona's struggle with her powers.
Okay.
It's like she's both drawn to them and terrified of them at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that's something a lot of us can relate to.
Totally.
Whether it's a talent or a passion or even just like a part of ourselves that we're afraid to embrace. There's this fear of what will happen if we let ourselves fully step into who we are.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And what about you?
What about me?
What resonated with you?
I think for me, it's the whole idea of the Viking.
Okay.
This creature that feeds on light.
Right.
Such a powerful metaphor for the things that drain us in our own lives.
Totally.
You know, the negative thoughts, the toxic relationships, the self-doubt.
For sure.
All those things can dim our light.
Yeah.
And keep us from shining as brightly as we could.
That's such a good point.
You know?
It's like we all have our own Vikings that we have to learn to fight against.
Exactly.
And sometimes the hardest battle is the one we fight within ourselves.
I think that's a perfect place to leave it for this part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
We got a lot more to unpack.
We do.
But for now, let's just sit with those thoughts.
Okay.
And really consider what it means to fight for our own light.
Absolutely.
And we'll pick up the conversation in part 2.
Sounds good.
Lona's story is really like a supernatural coming-of-age story. You know, she's trying to figure out where she belongs in the world, all while dealing with powers she doesn't really understand.
Yeah.
It's like those teen movies where the main character suddenly gets superpowers, but instead of embracing her destiny right away, Lona's actually trying to hide her abilities.
She's seen how dangerous it can be to be an aura.
Right.
And her instinct is to protect herself by blending in.
That makes sense.
Have you ever felt pressure to like downplay your talents or your uniqueness just to fit in?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We've all felt that pressure to conform at some point.
Totally.
But it's interesting how even when Lona tries to suppress her powers, just keep manifesting in these uncontrollable ways.
Right, like when she accidentally shut off all the lights during the school assembly.
Exactly. Or how she has to run for miles under a full moon just to burn off all that excess energy.
It's like her true nature is fighting to break free.
No matter how hard she tries to contain it.
And it's not just her abilities that are causing her anxiety.
Right.
There's this constant sense of dread.
Yeah.
Like something's watching her waiting to strike.
And the author does such a good job of using those details
to
create this atmosphere of suspense.
Totally.
Like, remember the red shoe on her porch?
Oh, yeah, that was creepy.
That vivid, unsettling image that connects us back to that missing girl in town.
Right.
It's a subtle way of reminding us that danger is lurking just beneath the surface of Lona's seemingly ordinary life.
And it keeps escalating.
It does.
Pulling her deeper into this mystery she's trying to avoid. Like when she's in the woods and hears someone or something calling her name.
Oh, yeah. That scene is so well written.
You can feel the chill in the air.
Right.
Hear the rustling leaves. Like something unseen is moving through the trees.
It's enough to make you want to turn and run.
Totally.
Yeah.
Even when she tries to ignore the danger, it keeps finding her.
Yeah.
Like that gruesome scene she and Matt stumble upon in the canyon.
Oh, right.
It's this stark reminder that the threat is real and that she can't hide from it forever.
This is where things really change for Lona.
Okay.
Up until this point, she's been relying on Christian to protect her.
Right.
But this experience forces her to confront the fact that she needs to find her own strength, her own way of fighting back.
Yeah.
It's the start of her transformation from a passive victim to an active agent in her own destiny.
It's like she's finally waking up to the truth of who she is and what she's capable of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that leads us to that powerful scene.
Yeah.
The confrontation with the Viking in her bedroom.
It's terrifying.
It is.
So visceral, and it shows just how vulnerable she is, even with her powers.
What's striking about that scene is that Lona realizes that she needs light to fight the darkness.
Okay.
It's not just about illuminating things.
Right.
It's about power and protection.
It's like a shift in her understanding of her own abilities. She sees that she has the potential to be a warrior, not just a beacon.
And she starts to realize that her power is amplified when she's not afraid.
Okay.
When she taps into her anger and her determination.
It's interesting.
To protect herself and those she cares about.
So it's like fear is the kryptonite to her superpowers.
Exactly. Fear can paralyze us, keep us from accessing our full potential.
But when we confront our fears, when we allow ourselves to feel that anger and channel it constructively, we tap into this source of incredible strength.
It's like facing your fears unlocks a hidden level of badassery.
I love that.
And then things get even more intense.
Okay.
When Lona falls through the ice and is clinically dead for 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
This episode really highlights Lona's resilience.
Yeah.
And that mysterious connection she has to the light.
It's like she has this innate ability to defy death.
Right. To tap into a life force that goes beyond what we can explain.
But even with those powers, she's still dealing with a lot of emotional baggage.
Yeah.
The author doesn't shy away from exploring the psychological impact of trauma. It shows that even those with extraordinary abilities are still human.
Yeah.
They experience pain and fear and the lingering effects of their past.
We all have those wounds.
Yeah.
Those experiences that shape who we are.
And that complexity is reflected in Leona's relationships, too. We see that tension between her and Christian.
Yeah.
How their feelings clash with their duties and the rules of the Oren world. It's like Romeo and Juliet.
It is.
But with way higher stakes.
Right, where love is forbidden.
It makes you wonder if it's even possible to have both love and duty.
It does.
Especially when the rules are so strict and the consequences are so severe.
But Christian is starting to question those rules.
He is.
He's not content with just hiding and protecting Lona.
Right.
He wants auras to embrace their abilities and actively fight against the darkness.
It's like history is repeating itself.
It is.
Lona and Christian are echoing the struggles of her parents, fighting against those same restrictive rules.
It creates this powerful sense of legacy and destiny.
Totally.
Suggesting that Lona might be the one to break free from the past.
Right.
And forge a new path for auras.
It raises some important questions about tradition versus progress. When is it right to uphold tradition, and when is it necessary to challenge it in order to evolve and adapt?
These are questions we all grapple with in our own lives.
Absolutely.
As we navigate the tension between honoring the past and embracing the future.
And as Lona stands at this crossroads, the weight of that decision, the weight of her legacy is becoming increasingly clear.
Her choices will have consequences. Not just for herself, but for all auras.
It's a lot of pressure for one teenager to bear.
It is. What are your rules?
Right.
What unwritten expectations or societal norms are holding you back from embracing your full potential?
We left off with Lona facing some pretty major decisions about her future and the future of, like, all auras. But before we get into all that, I want to go back to Lona's training for a sec.
Okay.
It's not just about, like, physical strength and learning to control her powers, is it?
No, it's so much more than that. Her training is like this metaphor for personal growth.
Right.
You know, she's learning to conquer her fears, to face them head on.
Totally.
Develop this sense of self-awareness. That goes way beyond just mastering her abilities.
And she doesn't just, like, suddenly become this fearless warrior overnight.
Right.
Remember how she struggles with controlling her heart rate at first? How she's always kind of on edge, waiting for the next attack?
It really shows us that growth takes time and effort.
Yeah.
And it takes a willingness to push yourself outside your comfort zone.
Totally. You don't just wake up one day and all your fears are gone.
Exactly. It's a process.
Right.
And sometimes it's messy and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But Lona keeps pushing forward.
She does.
Even when it's hard.
Yeah. I think we can all relate to that feeling of being overwhelmed by stress
for sure.
and anxiety.
Yeah.
But Lona's training reminds us that we have the power to choose how we respond to those feelings.
We do.
We can let them control us, or we can learn to manage them. We can find that inner calm, even when everything around us feels chaotic.
And sometimes that courage and that resilience comes from unexpected places.
Like when Lona gives Christian some of her light to help him heal.
Yeah. That was such a beautiful moment.
It was.
Of compassion and selflessness.
Totally. It shows us that light isn't just a weapon.
Right.
It's also a source of healing and connection.
It is. It makes you think about all the untapped healing powers that we have within us.
Yeah.
And how we can use our own strengths to help the people around us.
But of course, this is a deep dive into a fantasy world, so things can't stay peaceful for too long.
Right.
We have that shocking reveal about Mr. Steele.
Yeah, Lona's teacher.
Being the Viking who murdered her mother.
It's like this devastating betrayal that just shatters her sense of security.
Totally.
And she's forced to confront this reality that evil can be hiding anywhere.
It can.
Even in the people we trust the most.
And it's not just the physical danger that's scary. It's the psychological manipulation.
Right.
The way Mr. Steele used his authority to gain Lona's trust.
Exactly.
And exploit her vulnerabilities.
It's chilling.
It is. It reminds us that evil often hides behind this mask of respectability.
Yeah.
Which makes it even harder to detect.
It makes you think about how important it is to trust your gut.
Totally.
If something feels off, it probably is.
But sometimes even when we're aware of the danger, we can't stop bad things from happening.
Right.
Like when Tracy is murdered.
It's a brutal reminder that evil can strike anyone.
It can, even the most innocent and unsuspecting.
And this loss really becomes the catalyst for Lona's final transformation.
Okay.
She's not just fighting for herself anymore.
Right.
She's fighting for justice, for her mother's memory.
Yeah.
And for everyone she loves.
And in that final battle with Mr. Steele,
yeah,
we see her just unleash the full force of her power.
It's like everything she's learned, physically and emotionally, just comes together.
It's incredible to witness.
It is. It's a testament to how much she's grown.
Yeah.
And her resilience.
Right.
And her determination to defeat the darkness.
But it's not just about brute force.
No.
Remember how she uses light to create illusions?
Oh, yeah.
To distract Mr. Steele? She uses his weaknesses against him?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shows how strategic she is.
Yeah.
How she's learned to use her powers in all these creative ways.
She's become a true warrior. Combining strength and intelligence.
And in that last confrontation, we really see her embrace her legacy.
Yeah.
Drawing strength from her mother's memory.
Right.
And the stories of all the auras who fought against the darkness before her.
It's a powerful reminder that we are all part of a much larger story.
We are.
And that our actions can inspire others.
Lona's victory is a testament to the power of courage and compassion.
Yeah.
And the strength of the human spirit.
Even when things seem really dark, there's always hope. And there's always the possibility of triumph.
There is.
And as Lona gets ready to start this new chapter at Leeson Academy, we're left with this feeling of excitement for what's to come.
Right. Her story is far from over.
It's not.
And we can't wait to see how she grows as she embraces her destiny as an Aura.
Her journey is an inspiration.
It is.
A reminder that we all have the power to choose our own path, to embrace our strengths, and to make a difference in the world.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into First Magic, we want you to think about what hidden powers do you have waiting to be unlocked?
What fears are holding you back? And how can you use your unique gifts to make the world a better place?
Lona's story shows us that even in the darkest of times, light always finds a way through.
It does.
It's a testament to hope and
Yeah.
courage.
And the belief that each of us has the potential to create a brighter future.
Exactly. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into First Magic.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We hope you'll keep exploring the world of auras and Vikings and the choices we make when faced with darkness.
And until next time, keep diving deep. Keep questioning and keep seeking the light.
In yourselves and in the world around you.